the current protest that is undertaken by the students. What is a protest about? They need free education. They want education to be free. But of course, that goes with the history of that country. Because historically, when we still had the apartheid system, education was indeed a weapon that was used by the oppressors to deprive the black majority of quality education. And therefore, by the time we reached our freedom, this is one of the backlogs that we are dealing with. And we have made it a priority number one to invest in, and that's what we are doing. This is also in keeping with the policies of the ruling party, which it developed way back during the struggle, that precisely because of the position of education in our country, you needed, when South Africa is free, to address the question of education, and that doors of learning must be opened, and that government must give bursaries to poor kind of students who come from poor families and those who will be orphans, etc. They must receive education free of charge. That statement was very clear, because we're not saying during freedom time everybody must receive a free education, even if the parents can afford, because we have got to balance the resources. What we have done already, ever since 1994, the students at primary up to higher education coming from poor families, in fact, there are schools where fees are no longer paid, to implement that policy. So we are in the process of implementing it. In fact, it is about 80% of the poor kids who go to school without paying, up to what you call here, we call it matric there. Here you call it a... yes.
KCSE.
That's correct. That is an implementation of the policy towards free education. With regard to poor children that go to tertiary institutions, we have a fund which we call NSFAS, which is a scheme to pay at that level for the poor schools. We have in fact developed it instead of a loan. If students perform very well towards the end, it is turned into a grant. So we are implementing that policy. What has happened in South Africa is that the students, since last year, started protesting against raising of the fees by the universities. That was the first thing. I'm sure you being a journalist, you know it better. They started by shouting a slogan, hashtag, the rise of fees must fall. Saying it, of course, differently. That was the issue. But once they were protesting very vigorously, we had a meeting with them and the leadership of the tertiary institutions, and therefore agreed that at the beginning of this year, there will be no rise in the fees. And government took the responsibility to address that issue, because if there were no rise, it meant that government must take the responsibility to pay for that. This year, again, they raised the matter and went to protest as they are protesting now, demanding free education. Of course, if you take it from what they're saying and the manner in which they're saying it, and I'm happy you said the youth is vibrant. The vibrancy must also be responsible. Can't just have vibrancy that borders to irresponsibility. The very fact that poor students are being catered for at the tertiary institutions, you can then not distinguish between those who must pay and those who cannot pay, therefore that government must pay for. That's a matter that is being debated, and the students at the moment are saying we cannot stop protesting until government accepts that education must be free with no qualification. Fortunately, a few weeks ago, the ruling party made a clear policy statement on this matter, as it is the party that emerged with the policy of free education, what it means. And this is what is being debated by everybody. And of course, the meetings that are being asked by the churches, by other groupings, we are honoring them. We are discussing those matters with them, and we hope that we will be able to solve those kind of problems. We are committed as a government, but as we explain it, to address the question of the poor and the working class, because it will be very difficult to pay as a government for a child of a parent who has every means to pay. It would not make sense. And I don't think there is any government in anywhere in the world we should do so. We who have the means must support the system for the benefit of the country. That's what we are saying. That's our position, and that's what we are engaging the youth on. Thank you.